Hey, this is J.PhammingtonYGO here. I went X2 at the Fort Worth Regional. This is probably a much better performing a performance by me. Only losing to some Dogmatika branded back row heavy Heavenly Prison deck, piloted by some really young kid. He did pretty good, and then I lost to him. Who went X1. Here's the profile. I mean, it's whatever. Here's the ratios. I don't think anybody really wanted to I don't think we should talk about this. I will say I will agree on my friend Michael here about third Taia. The third Taia definitely came up a lot. Every time I was still in a game state where I knew I could just OTK for turn, I always wish I wanted to have the third Taia. But especially whenever there's a decks that just mill you off the top, especially including Runick, Kashtira, and whatever else. I mean, the third Taia did come up. Then the rest of the Swordsoul cards. This should be out of my deck. This did not do well for me today, but the idea was that it was kind of a recovery play. The Emergence and Blackout, I mean, we don't have to talk about this, but this I would switch this out for maybe for a Veiler, maybe something else. For the Tenyi lineup, 3-2-2-1 with the Heavenly Dragon Circles. I don't want to open too much engine. I also don't want to open up too much. I also don't want to open up like this guy all the time, even though I opened him so many times. This needs flow. You have to play this at 3 right now. There's just a lot of hand traps going on, a lot of disruption going on. Just helps you play through stuff. Here's the staples. 2 Pot of Desires. You need to play the 2. 2 Tactics. This was one of the MVP cards. This should. This is just a solid 2 of. I think this card should stay at 2 in the deck as well, and as long as this format continues to kind of take form and do other stuff, I think this is perfect. Hand traps. I think you need to play all of these. I think all of these are absolutely necessary.
How many nibs are there?
I'm sorry?
How many nibs do you have?
There's
there
3.
we go.
Yeah. Triple Nibirus, triple Ash, triple Imperms. These 3, I'm glad I thought of playing 2, but I think this was fine. I resolved the Nibiru several times. A lot of times Nibiru just stops a lot of decks that I didn't think were gonna show up. And in the decks that showed up that were pretty roguey, and I didn't think that they were gonna come around at some point, since this format is incredibly diverse. This kind of counteracted that. So there's that. On for the tokens. I mean extra deck. Sorry. Here's my tokens. Bionicle Toaloa featuring Josh. Teal Center. This and this. I don't think we need to talk about these. This is just what you need to play, absolute necessity. Referring to Michael's theory, the build around you. Every time you resolve these, you are in a very good spot. No matter what you do, you have to go straight for the Synchro 8s. You have to go into a Synchro 8. If you go to a Synchro 10 solo, you're most likely not going to be winning that game unless if your opponent also didn't open that well. So this is correct. Chengying's, Qixing. We don't need to talk about this. This is the one card that I think if your only play is to make a 10, this is the one card you go into. Yazi. This card came up a lot actually. This card, it just accesses your whole Worms engine. So the moment that you can summon this, you're able to just get into where you want to go most of the time and have spot removal. It also helps that can't get targeted. This card should be a Draco Masters. I never summoned it. Every time the only time I tried to summon it was just to beta Nibiru, which I did, and I never summoned it because they just had to drop the nib there. This should be a Draco Masters, that way D-Barrier doesn't like destroy me. It resolved only 3 times against me, and every time I lost. However, you just have to really push and push and push this for Draco Masters. So this should be a Draco Masters. Don't play this. Draco Berserker. Honestly, was considering playing 2, but this is fine. You need to play this. This plays pushes for game, and it's a banisher. The Dragite came up several times, but I think this should stay in the extra deck. This card is a good spell and trap negate, so this should stay, and obviously Baron for defense and spot. Side deck. All of it is hand traps except for the one Blackout. This card should be a different hand trap. This card should have been like maybe a bell. I think it did come up. I sided it in going first, and I banished my first Blackout, and I searched the second, and the second Blackout did come up, but that's about it. I would rather change it to Desire's Banish and draw 2 more hand traps and just kill on turn 3 or turn 5 given the game state. This here, I think is just very correct. Ghost Ogre came up. This card should be at 3, but everything else should be is just incredibly good. So this stops generally like all the Kashtira plays. You shotgun it and you just against Kashtira, and you just hope that they didn't open Godly. Gamma just generally hits everything. Draw generally actually hits everything. And then Ghost Ogre generally hits like cards like Sprite. I didn't go against a single Sprite player today, but that was the idea, and along with like maybe ogreing the Fluundery's map in case if people wanted to play Fluundery's, thinking it's still a good deck. But yeah, that's the deck profile. Changes, I'd probably put in a Veiler to replace the Sacred Summit, maybe put in another Veiler to replace the second Blackout, but that's about it. Shout out to Sam Yang.
Hey guys.
Shout out to Michael who beat me in round 6, making me X2. Shout out to the Austin boys, Fritz, Will, the Corey, the boys, Vinny, all the people from Juniors, all the people from Pixel. Shout out to Aaron because Aaron McInnes because he's famous and he's a good friend of mine as well. That's it. J.Phammington out.